Out of all the brothers, who do you think was the most passionate towards wrestling and loved it the most?
Loved the business?
The most.
Dave. By far, Dave. I had a picture of Dave bending over out of a window in Japan, puking. He's drunk, he's down there with the boys, and they're all drinking, getting drunk with those geisha girls,
Mm-hmm.
how they do all the shows and stuff. And so we'd eaten sushi, and had a few beers, and said, so I'm going to bed, Dave, come on. He goes, I'm going to stay down here and enjoy a few beers with the boys. I said, all right, go ahead, you dumbass, because I knew he's like me, he couldn't drink,
Right.
And so I went to the room, so he comes in about an hour and a half later, goes over and opens the window, and he's sticking his head out puking. I took a picture with the camera of his big old naked ass hanging out, and it said, Dave enjoying a few beers with the boys. He's funny. How did Dave get involved?
Yes. And Curry.
Yeah, it's a little different with Dave. Actually, Dave was a combination football and basketball scholarship in North Texas. And so it was one of those really hot days in football, and the basketball coach just wanted Dave to play basketball. So when it would be the hottest part of the day, the basketball coach would come down the field and say, Dave, it's air conditioned in that gym. We're not sweating like this. Tempting Dave, And so I looked up on the hill one day, and the freshmen would be up on the hill playing against the defense, and I heard a pop, and everybody turned around and looked, and I see this dust settling over the field, and there's my big old brother, my little brother, getting up. He'd been popped really good, and it was after that practice, he said, Kev, I think I'm going to go and just play basketball. I said, okay, David.
Your dad's retirement show in 1982. You teamed with David, and you guys worked Kabuki and Magic Dragon.
Yeah. Yeah, that was great wrestling with those guys. I remember that Kabuki came to me, or his people came to me one night. One day before wrestling. We're going to have wrestling that night in the sportatorium. And we had a different style. We didn't want to do that old man stuff, where, for getting a hold in the middle of the ring and holding it, and going back to the hole. I mean, we wanted to go kick as hard as we could, just stay out with the nose, teeth, and balls, everything else.
Right, lay it in.
There, And it was great because Dad was just getting other young guys that wanted to do the same thing, Kabuki, so we were just young tigers going at it best we could, under an hour, 45 minutes, 30 minutes. And so Kabuki's people come to me, and Kabuki's with them, but he didn't speak any English. Said that Kabuki wanted to wrestle me that night. And I looked at his body, and I said, my friend, you need workout. You're not big, very, very strong pace in America, maybe you should think, he goes, please give chance. So, okay, I'll just kick his ass. And so we get in the ring, and we wait. We got a little finish, but it's just a finish. We're gonna go. So I don't mean we're gonna shoot, but we're gonna have a hell of a match,
right.
And then we're gonna do what we got to do. But it's gonna be just like we used to do. And so we're wrestling, and I'm looking at him, and all of a sudden he turns his back on me, which is stupid. You never turn your back on anybody. But there's his foot. I pull back, and the foot goes right in my face. Yeah, this guy's quick. And so he shot me into the ropes, and I reversed it and shot him in. And I was coming off, and he spun around and kicked me and broke my cheekbone. And my nose has been broken so many times in football, but it broke my cheekbone too, this time. Nose and cheekbone. Knocked me out too for a minute. And, I just got through telling me he wasn't in good enough shape to wrestle. So I remember my dad came running down there, and I got on the microphone saying, it didn't hurt a bit. I feel great. I can't wait to wrestle him next week. And no respect for Kabuki after that.
Is it true that David, I guess he was promised the NWA title back in '83 from Harley, but I guess Jim Crockett was able to maneuver Ric Flair into getting the title back at Starrcade?
What now?
I was told that David was going to get the belt around, I think it was, 1983 from Harley Race. But Jim Crockett was able to get Ric Flair into the title situation.
We really never knew where we stood with that NWA bunch.
Right, it was all political.
Yeah, and it was, I know Dave wanted to be friends with those guys so bad. He really wanted Dusty to like him and all those guys, and Briscoe and Slater, and And those some darn good guys out there too. You know, I like all of them too. But they're a pretty tight knit bunch. You know.
Right.
And so we really never knew where we stood with those guys, and we really I didn't think needed that belt that much anyway.
Memories of David versus Flair from Christmas night of '83.
Flair's an excellent worker, great showman, great athlete, and Dave did his part too, and the two of them together in the ring was like, you know, watching an orchestra.
It was awesome.
They just really manipulated the crowd and just lifted them up, set them down, and over and over on that long, and that's the kind of worker that Flair is. He's a good man.
I guess where were you when you first heard about David passing away in Japan?
Shoot, man. I was asleep, and the phone rang. It was his wife crying. And the first thing I said when I heard her crying, I said, "Is Dave dead?" And she said, "Yes." I said, "I got to go to Trace." Because, see, David had diarrhea for like 2 or 3 months before that. And we've been trying to get, this is not a funny story, but well, damn it, it is a funny story. We've been trying to get him to get checked for this diarrhea that he'd had for so long. And so we talked him into it. So he goes into this doctor's office. And so the doctor tells him to lean against this table, put his elbows on the table and put his knees on these little groove things and just stand up against this wall. You know, it wasn't a table, it was a wall. So Dave did it. He straps his elbows on, straps his knees on, hits a switch, and next thing you know, Dave's ass up, you know, and naked. And Dave said, "Get me out of here! I'll tear this place apart!" And so Dave scared the doc, you know, and the doc got off it. Let Dave out. Dave was furious. He was really going to tear the place apart because the guy was going to, you know, what's the nice way to put it? Was going to do some invasive procedures, and Dave didn't want to go through with it. Anyway, it's too bad they didn't, because Dave had a weakened spot in his intestinal lining that was like eventually ruptured, and the poison leaked out into his system and he died like that. I know a lot of people think they've heard about Dave overdosing, you know, because I've heard that.
I didn't want to ask you because I didn't know.
Well,
there's stories going around that Brody flushed
there's
out.
a death certificate, right. You know, and you could ask Brody, or you could ask, you know, there are a lot of guys that were around that aren't anymore, you know. Too bad, but, you know, the fact is that Dave died from a ruptured intestine, you know, from gastroenteritis is the official name. I read it on the death certificate. It's like, we aren't some kind of powerful mafia family that duped the whole country of Japan into dummying up these documents. We're not that big, you know.
Right.